Welcome to another exciting episode of Bats, Balls and Banter, your ultimate destination for all things cricket. Cricket is more than just a game, it's a passion that unites millions across the globe. Here at Bats, Balls and Banter, we're dedicated to bringing you closer to the action, the stories and the personalities that make cricket the fascinating sport that it is. I'm your host, Kevin Pattenden. Grab your bat, hold on to your balls, settle in, and let's dive into the banter. In today's episode, we're diving into a conversation with Georgina Sockett, someone who's got a deep love for both sport and drama. Cricket is the game of choice, but there's also a fascinating link between the two worlds that we're excited to explore. So, let's get started. So, Georgina, let's kick things off by, let's first of all talk about your journey. How did you first get into cricket?
Well, it's a game my family have played my whole life. My grandpa played, my dad, my brother still plays. My mum works in it, so I would almost say I was born on the cricket pitch.
There was only one way you could go then, really, wasn't there? And that was into cricket, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I started playing very young, really, and played with my brother and in county age group girls side, which was a lot of fun, really. Ignited my passion.
Was there a particular moment then? You know, you say your whole family's involved, really, from parents to siblings. Was there and I know how you feel, by the way, on that. If I look back at my involvement in cricket, my brother, my son, my wife, my daughter, etc., it just seems to be one of those sports, I think, where if you've started in it, then it's easy to get involved with. But was there any moment or particular moment or a person who inspired you in the early days?
I guess I started playing because it was already in my life and I love sport, but I think the real passion came from my family as I've grown up. I loved hearing my grandpa's stories, and he talks about his memories of playing in different countries. Hereford CC used to tour every year to Barbados, and it's become my favourite place in the whole world, listening to him talk about it. And meeting those people he remains friends with today. He played for Worcestershire County Cricket Club for years, and I just love hearing it.
Professional then, was he? Turned into a professional?
Yes, he played Worcestershire and then became chairman of their committee for many years. So it's amazing to listen to his stories and what kind of wickets he played on. Yeah, so he's definitely inspired my passion for the game.
Have you been to the West Indies yet then on the tour? Have you managed to get on one of them yet?
Unfortunately, I haven't. Been a few times with family, but I've never been on the proper tour. But that is definitely a goal of mine.
Bucket list, clearly, no doubt. So did you play at school as well then, or was it just the outside of school environment? Was it something at school you played regular? I know when I was growing up, and I'm clearly much older than most people because I'm getting ancient now, but cricket was on our curriculum, but these days it doesn't seem to be so prevalent in schools. Was it something you did play at school?
Yeah, it was. Well, but I wasn't supposed to. Girls played rounders at my school when I was there, but I was asked one day by my year 7 cricket coach, who happened to be my biology teacher. He said the boys were short and he heard I played a bit of cricket. Would I play? So I went to my first match and then played every one since. So it was great, really.
Perfect, and that's what we like to hear. So I also know, Georgina, just from doing a little research, that you love drama, and I know that they're your biggest passions, really, the sport and the drama. Could you tell us a little bit about how those interests developed then, side by side, sport, in particular cricket, and your drama?
Yeah, I I've always loved performing. I've done it as long as I can remember, performing for my mum in the living room, with a script I'd made up myself, and doing those alongside each other, really, not thinking about the similarities. And, one day I realised that they both teach you the same skills, really: leadership, confidence, speaking in front of people, stamina, adaptation. And I remember being at school and realising how many of my friends who loved sport were missing out on drama because they just thought it wasn't for them. They were polar opposites or something. So I decided, you know what, I want to show that they are the same and you learn the same things from each other. So I started a project to adapt a version of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, adding loads of sporty themes, and I got the rugby and hockey team in the school to star in it.
Wow.
And they couldn't believe how much they'd learnt about sport from being in that show, and that definitely made me think that is an amazing thing to have, and that's something I want to share with as many people as I can.
Yeah, and I think it's something that until you like you say, I think polar opposites. That's what people see it as, but excuse me. But as we did some, as you already know previously, then sport and drama are my two big things, as you well know. So cricket and rugby were my two, and you've mentioned them. I think trying to imagine my rugby playing friends playing in a pantomime as a dame and thing just seemed non-existent, but I get it. I thoroughly do get it, and I think it's a brilliant thing what you've done there with the sport and drama and brought it together, and you found the connections for your love for both of them, really. But so how you approach the game or your performance on the pitch, against a show, is it different? Do you do the same sort of preparations? Are they miles apart?
I definitely do similar preparations. All sort of my pre-game rituals stem from my drama ones before I go on stage. How to calm my nerves and get the adrenaline down a little bit before I go on. And especially expression. I think expression obviously on stage is the most important thing, but on the cricket pitch, expressing, your own self is so important. No one wins a game having every player on the pitch do exactly the same job. If you're a batter, maybe you have your own way and it's just, or maybe a bowler, you have your own sort of quirk in your bowling action that really helps, you win the game.
Yeah. And I think from what you're saying there, that there is definitely a connection, and I would agree with it, because as I say, I do both, but maybe our listeners are not fully just understanding how both can be aligned together, and I would think that the sport and the performance so is a similar thing. So you're still performing in your game, whatever that may be for you. It's cricket, for me it was cricket and rugby, but you're still performing, you're in front of people, you're on a stage, I suppose, whether you're on the theatre stage or on the cricket field stage. But do you think it helps you stay mentally strong? Because obviously when you're out in front of an audience, from the drama side of it, you've got to stay mentally strong, you've got to stay aware. Hey, look, we've all missed lines, but dead space is no good to anybody. You've got to be creative and say something, or at least try and find the link word to the next section that somebody's waiting for in your performance. So do you think it helps with that, the mentally strong creativeness?
Absolutely. As you said, you need in drama, you need, that improvisation, but cricket, you absolutely need that improvisation. You go out to bat, you have one chance, and with one ball, it could all be over for another week. So, the nerves, the need to perform, the audience watching you around the boundary, it's all about that, mental state that you're in.
Yeah.
And staying strong with that, and also reacting, anticipating as a cricketer, but the same as an actor. You need to react, you need to anticipate, but as you do as a batter and a bowler and a fielder, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say, I suppose all the disciplines of which now, again, in this modern day and age, the three disciplines, I suppose, would be batting, bowling and fielding. And if you want to progress and get up the level, I would think you need two, if not three of those disciplines these days. I think in the olden days, I don't know, let me think, Phil Tufnell was an England spin bowler, but he's probably the worst batsman and fielder out there. You wouldn't get away with it these days. So combining those two sounds like it could be a really beneficial thing. Look, great opening couple of questions there, Georgina. Thank you very much for that. And when we come back, we'll look a bit deeper into the link between sport and drama. You are listening to the podcast Bats, Balls and Banter. Please like, subscribe and share with your fellow enthusiasts. Hey, don't forget to leave a review, and your support keeps the banter going. So welcome back, talking to Georgina Sockett today. Look, let's dive a little deeper into that link between sport and drama. And, as we just touched on, those two can enhance your performance on the field. But do you think even over and above that, do you think it can help with leadership and really important communication skills?
Absolutely, yes. So, as I said earlier, expression, adaptation, anticipation are some of the most important skills a cricketer must have. But you can have those skills, but if you can't communicate these to the rest of the team, then it's no good either. So, the same as on stage. Cricket, I feel, is an individual sport within a team game. Yeah. So the individual has their own job they must perform, but it combines with the rest of the individuals to create that winning team. So if you can't communicate to your team as an individual, then that isn't going to work. There isn't going to be a link there.
I suppose as if you're a character in a show and you're a player in a team, I suppose ultimately they're both casts in the performance. That the cast on a theatre stage and the team being the cast in the sport. So yeah, it's a really good point that you bring out there about the communication and the leadership and how combined they bring many skills and very similar then in many ways. And I think I don't know, looking from the outside, you can probably help me here, just confirm, but those acting skills, the performance on the field skills, they must help you stay focused or handle the pressure, which I suppose is a big one, because both of those are under a lot of pressure for most of the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every performer, every cricketer would have a different way of coping with that pressure, but it all comes down to drawing on your physical and emotional coping techniques. And coming from an actor on the stage, that's the first thing you learn, really. You have a million distractions and multiple people counting on you, yourself, your, cast, the people who have probably paid money to watch you. The cricket field is no different. You have audience, spectators, and cricketers may choose, okay, I'm going to try and get rid of the pressure, focus on just playing cricket. But personally, I think the best cricketers, with exceptions, of course, and the best actors use the audience and the spectators to enhance their performance, use the pressure to help them focus.
Well, that was something I was just going to ask. And while you've mentioned it there, how do you... So we've talked about being on stage in front of an audience. We've talked about being on the pitch, in this case cricket, in front of a crowd of spectators. How has both those together help you control the pressure, either during the match or during a show? When I used to do the acting, everybody has different ways of doing it that I do appreciate, but I always found a little shot of whiskey, if I'm to be perfectly honest, when I was performing, calmed my nerves. But the biggest thing for me was controlling the adrenaline, because when you go out on stage in particular, the adrenaline rush, and you can over talk, or you can talk too fast, or you can not talk loud enough, and that first impression you make when you walk onto that stage is quite important, really, for the rest of your performance. So the performing under pressure bit is something then that do you use the same way for both, or do you have two different techniques?
I pretty much use the same thing for both. as you talked about that adrenaline, you can't really let it overwhelm you before you get on stage or get onto the field. So I have a breathing techniques that calms my heart rate, and then, as I said, I use the audience, the spectators, to focus me on, my plan. What's my plan? What do I need to go out there and do, both on the stage and on the pitch? You need to perform at your best. You need to be on edge, and if you're nervous, that's always a good thing, I think. But you can't, as I say, let it overwhelm you. So you need it in control. You need to enable those nerves to get you to give your best, especially under pressure.
And I think, you touched on a couple of points there that are really important. And we've talked about drama and we've talked about cricket, but we haven't talked about the fact that you're also coaching, you're ECB level coaches, et cetera, et cetera. And I would think then that you bring some of that knowledge into how you coach people. We'll talk about the game itself in a minute and what do you enjoy most about it. But just to finish off this little section of the sport and drama combined, not only in the playing stroke performing, which is a very similar thing, but also in your coaching role then, there's many techniques you must take from both those loves of yours to distribute while coaching.
Yeah, I hope so. I really, again, value that expression on a cricketer and a player. So that's something I really want to get across to my players. Your own particular strength, because, a cricket field is made up of 11 amazing players, but every single one of those players has a different job. So how can they use their own personal skills and expression to perform to 100%, whatever that may be? And I also really like quite exaggerated movements if I get into my own coaching, because I think it helps you do exactly what you need to do very clearly. I'm not one for playing by halves, as I say.
It's either all in or not in, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go big or go home, then, quite frankly, is probably the phrase there. So, well, that's good that you're using it both, not only, as I say, in your playing and performing, but also then in your coaching role. And having done it, as I say, and sorry to repeat, but I can see the benefit. And if you now can take that on and relay that in a coaching role, I think you'll be very beneficial to a sporting world with that skill. But let's talk about the game itself. What do you enjoy most about playing cricket, Georgina? What is it that you enjoy most?
That is a difficult question. Well, I love the tactical side of cricket. I really like the thinking behind everything. It's not just about, being really good at the one or two skills, the front foot drive or the pull shot. It's about, being on field, seeing a batter, what do they like to do, changing what I do, depending on what they do, or as a batter, seeing a decision being made about the field and changing what I think. I really love that creativity that you need on the pitch. And I also really love that every single person in a team has their own job. We don't do, as I said, 11 things exactly the same. And I always say to my players, if everyone in the team puts in 100% effort into their specific job, then mentally as a team, you can't lose.
And I think that's really important. I think the mental side of any sport at any level is really important. And you touched on it earlier about letting things overcome you, so whether that be adrenaline or nerves, they can ruin many things if you can't control them. So I think that's really key, that if you are mentally strong in whatever you're doing, then you can come away thinking, well, not every day am I going to get 100 if I'm a batter, and not every day am I going to get 5 wickets if I'm a bowler. But if you're mentally strong and that you've put in 100% and not left anything on the field, then I I agree with you. I think 9 times out of 10, success will follow. But you talk about one person, an individual, playing in a team game of 11. Do you play in a particular position that you prefer, or are you more versatile? Are you a batter, a bowler, a keeper?
I'd like to say I'm quite versatile. I think fielding is actually my favourite thing to do. And I enjoy sort of most positions on the field. I'm not a huge fan of backward point, so I'd always say to a captain, please don't put me there. But other than that, I quite like a good slide on the boundary or,
reason, Georgina,
deep square.
I have to pick you up on that. Any reason why backward point is not your preferred position?
Well, I remember very distinctly when I was at school playing for that boys' team, literally probably third or fourth game was backward point, and the ball was hit very hard towards me, and there was no way that I could stop it. And it, the spin that comes when they play a shot, missed it completely, and I've never gotten over that. So that I'd rather avoid that.
Yeah, so don't put me in that position to happen again is the best way for it not to happen again. So. And I've seen you over in Estonia, when you coach the ladies. So for our listeners, and we'll probably come on to it a little bit later in your future aspirations, but Georgina is coaching the Estonian ladies, and they have had a huge progress over the last year to 18 months or so. And, the season's coming to an end. And we'll see what happens over the coming months and years now with those ladies. But you've done a brilliant job. And I saw you... I don't know, it must be 6 weeks ago now. Time flies in the middle of the summer. And your energy in the field was the thing that stuck out about you. I think you batted. I think you got some runs, actually. I don't recall you bowling, so I can't comment. Seeing you bowl, so I can't comment on that. But I did see you bat. But your energy, what you bring, is infectious. And I can understand why you think fielding is your strength, because you take your other 10 players with you, with your energy, which was really impressive. So given that you batted really well, as I say, I'm not commenting on your bowling because I didn't see it, and you fielded exceptionally well, and you got the team motivated, how do you stay sharp in the off-season? Or is that, balanced with your drama? Is that the only thing that you do? But do you have anything that keeps you focused in the off-season?
Well, in the off season, it doesn't really feel like an off season to me. I'm still, coaching cricket as much as I can. I'm usually watching it as well. Coaching is such a passion of mine. So I do love reading about it. I love asking questions to other coaches. I really love, getting into the really nitty gritty of shots and tactics. So in the off season, really, I'm almost doing my research, I guess, and looking into things that might be able to help other players, because ultimately that's what I absolutely love to do.
And I think, what I'm taking from there is then, which is really impressive, is the fact that you just don't want to stand still. You don't want to stop. You don't want to think that season's done. Let's forget it. Let's start again, and we'll see you next April, next year. And because you're starting from a standing start. What I'm hearing is that, okay, that season's finished potentially, and yes, there should still be coaching and training through the off season. But you're looking at ways to continually improve then. That's what you're reading, you're learning, is that when you are back in full-time coaching with the guys or the girls, whoever it may be, then you're ready to go again with the passion and the drive. And I think it's exceptional. And I think, as I say, given that you are very focused on this, then I think anybody, I don't know who else you do coach, it'd be nice to find out actually, and we'll come on to that in your future aspirations in a minute, but I think anybody that does have you on their coaching staff would be very beneficial. Look, we'll come back in a couple of minutes and we'll talk about your future aspirations. So welcome back to Bats, Balls and Banter. We're with Georgina Sockett, ECB Level 2 coach, currently on progression to progress up that rankings, and we've talked about her cricket, her drama, her passions for those, and how they work together, and how leadership can be benefited from the drama and the sport. Now let's move on to sort of the final section, really, of the podcast, which is about your future aspirations, Georgie. What's next for you in cricket then? Any big aspirations? Hey, maybe even playing abroad or coaching abroad?
Wow. A lot of big aspirations, really. I've been recently helping out with the coaching of the Estonian women's cricket team, travelling on their different tours. And I really hope to continue to help them figure out, where we want to be, what we want to do. As we said, and in the off season, the same as the on season. I've just returned from the Netherlands, actually, where I was on an ICC course to tutor and assess new coaches. So I definitely hope to do some more of that as well, and help, be hopefully a role model to other coaches. Because I feel so privileged. Yeah, I feel so privileged to have learned from some amazing coaches, and that's something that I just absolutely love to do. And really, abroad would be the cherry on the cake, really. Yeah. I want to see adaptive pitches and things.
Yeah, I think, sorry for over-talking you there, but I'm that impressed with your drive, your passion, that I've got so many questions I wanted to ask, so I do apologise, Georgie, but I think, you feel not only is it beneficial for you to go up the ECB level rankings and then becoming a tutor, but I'm assuming for you, knowing you now, having spoke to you for the last 20 minutes or so, that's again your passion for giving back to the sport more than just it's a job, I want to do this. I get the impression you're giving back as well as learning and feeling that this is what you really want to be involved in. So I think that's really impressive for you that comes across. Do you have any specific country? I know you've just mentioned Estonia, which unfortunately in Estonia for 6 months of the year is absolutely gorgeous, sort of plus 30 degrees. But the other 6 months of the year, unless it's indoors, and I know they do some indoor coaching and things, but it's minus 30 can be. So do you have any particular country or team that you'd like to coach?
Oh, I think top of my list really would be to follow in my grandpa's and my dad's footsteps and play in Barbados. Yeah. Really, that would be the top thing on my list, really. But anywhere, I don't have a specific place. I just you've fallen in love with traveling, and cricket I've been lucky enough that cricket has been taking me to all these different places, and I love learning about the country as well as learning about the pitch that I'm playing on and the people I'm playing with. So I think Barbados, and then everywhere else is second.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I get the grandpa connection, and that's really, really nice that that you'll feel you've ticked a box. But I think, to be honest, it'd be most people's first choice if they could. And so you talk about progressing. You've just come back from the Netherlands. You're going to do tutoring. Is there any other progression or way of evolving over the next few years that we haven't discussed? Will you play more? Will you become a captain yourself if you're not already, or is it all really about the coaching dream for you?
Well, I hope to definitely play more, because I think that would really aid my coaching. But I guess my coaching is my passion at the moment, and in the next few years, really, I want to learn from other coaches. More coaches go and shadow perhaps some more in England at Edgbaston or big pitches like that, but also other coaches, other players. I want to get into the specifics of how do you win a game, that mental side as well as the specifics of technique. And just seeing and watching is so valuable to me. I feel so privileged to be able to do that. So, over the next few years, that's just something I want to continue, and I want to share that passion with people. As we talked about earlier, drama and cricket being so similar, I just have this passion for, I want kids or adults or people who aren't involved in cricket or have ever been on stage to try it, because I think, it's so much fun, but it's so valuable for even life skills. So, and that's something I really hope to be able to learn how to put that across to people in the next few years.
And I would 100% agree with those. And actually, I'd written down here life skills. That's and you've just used it. It's not just the skill of playing the sport or the skill of being able to perform, but the life skills. And I'll give you a little example, if I may, how important it is and how absolutely spot on you are with that. I have some children, obviously 3 children, and one of them is very following in my footsteps, very performing, very out there, very sporty. But one of them was not so keen, shall we say. But he was a little reserved also. He was a little bit sort of in the, always sort of keeping himself back. And anyway, cut a long story short, the one who had the drive and the passion for drama already joined what's called the Mob, which was the miniature operatic bunch. I used to be in the Adults Operatic Society, for example, and they had a junior section. Let me get to the point. I hear you say. The point is that the one who wasn't so driven joined, and the huge change for the benefit in him by being involved in that. Now, when he performed, he was never a leading role. He was, somewhere in the background a little bit, or he was in the cast, he wasn't a lead. But I saw huge steps forward in his confidence, in his social skills. It was massive. And I would say life skills is the words that I would use. You're absolutely bang on with that. So it helps in many, many ways, not just the skills of cricket or the skills of performing. So good luck with that, and I hope it comes out to what you want it to be. Now, we've talked about stage and we've talked about passion, but I've also heard, little Georgina, you're a bit of a radio star. You were on Radio Hereford, is that right? Can you tell us what that experience was like?
Yeah, I was. The first time was a few years ago. There was an opportunity that came about in my local cricket club. They wanted someone to talk about cricket, really, in the county, because it wasn't spoken about as much as the other sports that we play in England. And I put my hand up, really, and had questions asked me about what red ball and white ball cricket is. And then a few years later, they came back to me and asked me where I was in my life now and if cricket was still in it. So, it was an amazing experience, really, and a time for me to reflect on what I'd done in the last few years too, which was a really, really nice thing for me to do, really, to stop and think.
I think that is absolutely fantastic of the radio station, as much as anything, to come back to you and see how you'd progress. And it's a sort of mantra that we have here, that we like to do these podcasts with individuals who live and breathe cricket, but then not just never speak to them again, but then revisit them in 18 months or 2 years' time to see where they've got to. Because lots of people we talk to, like yourself, have a love for the game and want to drive on and progress. So I think that's really forward thinking of Radio Hereford, and that's really nice. So you got to share some of your experiences with the audiences. What was the response like? Did you get many responses? What was the reaction, if at all?
Yeah, it was brilliant, really. As the first one, I was coaching, the under-9 team at my local cricket club in Hereford, and then when they came back to me, I did a piece from the seaside in Cyprus where we were playing with the Estonian women's team. So that was really an amazing sort of progression. And the response really came from, firstly, how did that happen and where did you go to get to that point? But also, I think the response was really sort of comforting, I guess, from the county and the people in it, and seeing, you know, Hereford is so small, everyone really knows everyone. But it was, you know, sharing a success story really, and hopefully something that other people can take from that, you know, work on what you're passionate about, and open doors open to you if you're driven, I guess.
Yeah, and I think you know, I've just listened to you for the last 20 minutes or so, you know, I get that, and if anybody can pick up a small percentage of your drive, your passion, your enthusiasm, your personality, then, you know, it will only do them the world of good. So I'm glad that all went well now that you're a top radio star. I hope you don't give up your cricket and drama to become a radio DJ, but hey, watch this space. Look, it's been great chatting with you today, Georgina. Do you have any last thoughts for our listeners on the link, you know, as we've talked about through the whole of this, really, of cricket, of drama, of pursuing passions, how they work together? Do you have a sort of final words that you would share with us, with our listeners today?
I guess my last thoughts would be, try it out. Nurture your own creativity, and no matter what anyone says about, you know, whether you can or can't achieve or succeed, try it, pursue it. If anything you take from today, I would really ask that you try and see what happens.
Do you know, there's not much more I can add to that. Georgina, thank you very, very much indeed. Very much appreciated. And I think you'll go far in the world that you choose. And your passion, as I say, if half the people that listen to this pick up some of that, then will be beneficial all round. Georgina Sockett, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking.
This podcast series is sponsored by Cricket Finder, the world's fastest growing cricket networking platform, bringing clubs, teams and players together from all over the world. Use the code POD24 to receive your subscription discount at cricketfinder.com. So thank you all for tuning in to Bats, Balls and Banter. And don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more exciting episodes. Until next time, take care and keep the cricket spirit alive.